Most of you are familiar with Apple products and its owner, Steve Jobs. Most of us have always seen Apple as an already established company, but there is a story behind it too that not many of us know about. We sit in our empty rooms and do nothing, while this man went on to form a tech empire. His ideas have revolutionized the way this world works, and it has been going on for the past 3 decades. He was raised by Paul and Clara Jobs, right in the heart of Silicon Valley, Mountain View, California. By the age of 12, he was already hanging out at the Hewlett-Packard Explorer Club, soaking up all the latest buzz in computing. Jobs actually started college at Reed in Portland, Oregon, but dropped out after just 1 semester. He was more interested in exploring counterculture, and before making a big splash, he worked a bit at Hewlett-Packard and then at Atari, which was really leading the video game revolution at the time. But here's where it gets really interesting. Steve Jobs teamed up with Stephen Wozniak, an engineer who was tinkering with his own home microcomputer project. Jobs saw huge potential in what Wozniak was doing. In Jobs' own garage, they put together the first Apple computer, the Apple I, from pretty ordinary stuff, like parts they scrounged up around the house, along with a really creative motherboard design. In 1976, they were ready to make things official. They sold Jobs' Volkswagen van for some startup cash and founded Apple Computer right there in that garage. The man named a whole-ass company after his favorite fruit, apple, and normally one would think of it as, oh, what a stupid name. But right now, it's a pass to being premium. It's crazy to think how that modest beginning changed the entire tech landscape. Let me tell you about the whirlwind journey of Apple after the introduction of the Apple II in 1977. It was a game changer, literally the first consumer computer to catch the public's eye. Suddenly, Apple was swamped with orders, and it skyrocketed to become the fastest growing company in the US. Fast forward to 1980, Apple went public with shares priced at $22 each, and just like that, both Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak were millionaires. Now, in 1981, when IBM, seeing Apple's success, decided to jump into the personal computing game, they released their first PC, which, let's just say, was heavily inspired by the Apple II. Apple had put all their cards on the table, making their specs public, which in hindsight might have been a bit naive. Now, Jobs was seen as a genius who had this unique blend of creative and business acumen. He knew how to create groundbreaking products and market them effectively. After the success of the Apple II, he and Wozniak didn't just sit back. They pushed ahead with the Macintosh, which, when it hit the scene in 1984, transformed the market entirely. The Macintosh was a marvel, the first really affordable and user-friendly computer. Imagine a world where you didn't need to memorize a Bible of commands just to use a computer. That was the Macintosh. It featured a graphical interface that looked like a work desk, complete with a desktop, and introduced the mouse, making it super easy to click on icons, open windows, and navigate menus. This computer was so simple that even a kid could use it, which played a huge part in bringing PCs into educational settings, all thanks to Jobs' vision. With competition heating up, Jobs knew he had to bring something different to the table, so he went out on a limb. He managed to snag John Sculley from Pepsi, the soda company, to run Apple. Weird, but totally worth it. Jobs thought Sculley's corporate savvy could help Apple scale new heights. However, he didn't foresee the clash of cultures he was about to witness. Sculley's corporate, old-school approach just didn't mesh with Jobs' more rebellious, trailblazing style. At the same time, tensions between Jobs and Wozniak started to surface. Woz had been in a plane crash, which changed a lot for him. He eventually stepped away from Apple. But rumors had it that there was more to the story. Possibly Jobs' notorious difficult temperament, with some calling him a charismatic titan. All these internal conflicts came to a head in 1985. Apple was going through a massive restructuring, which led to 1,200 employees being laid off. It was a tough year, and it ended with Jobs walking away from the company he founded, ready to start anew. Despite the tumultuous exit, this wasn't the end for Jobs or Apple. It was just the beginning of another chapter in a saga that really redefined what technology could do in our lives. After leaving Apple in 1985 amid internal strife, he immediately founded Next Computer and, in a bold move, purchased George Lucas's animation division for $10 million. This division, under Jobs' leadership, transformed into Pixar Animation Studios in 1986, diving headfirst into the burgeoning field of computer-animated films. The studio quickly made its mark when Tin Toy clinched an Academy Award for Best Animated Short Film in 1988. However, Next Computer faced its own set of challenges. Despite its innovative features, the first computer released in 1989 was a commercial flop because it was pricey and incompatible with most other systems. Jobs shuttered the computer division in 1993, but not before it contributed to a monumental advancement. It was on a Next machine that Tim Berners-Lee developed the World Wide Web. Back at Pixar, things were looking up. The studio, with backing from Disney, released Toy Story in 1995, making history as the first feature film entirely produced by computers. The film was a blockbuster hit and even snagged an Oscar, paving the way for future successes like A Bug's Life, Monsters, Inc., and Finding Nemo. While Pixar soared, Apple floundered. The rise of PC clones and Microsoft's Windows 3.1 and Windows 95 in the early 90s ate into Apple's market, eroding its unique selling point, user-friendly systems that now faced stiff competitions for more affordable PCs with similar features. Apple's response was litigious. They launched several lawsuits against Microsoft, accusing it of copying the Macintosh interface. This legal battle was part of a broader rivalry between Jobs and Microsoft's Bill Gates, depicted in the 1998 TV movie Pirates of Silicon Valley. The lawsuits were unsuccessful, and by December 1996, Apple was in crisis, leading to its decision to buy Next Computer. This acquisition marked Steve Jobs' return to Apple, initially as an interim advisor, a role he took without salary. In 1997, just 9 months after his return and right before he was named interim chairman, Jobs made a stunning announcement: a $150 million investment by Microsoft into Apple. This deal, which seemed to herald a new era of cooperation between the two tech giants, was crucial for Apple's survival and hinted at a future where these two companies would realize they were better off as collaborators rather than adversaries. In his second stint at Apple, Steve Jobs continued to push boundaries, introducing game-changing products. When he reclaimed the presidency in 1997, the odds seemed stacked against Apple. But by 2012, a year after his passing, Apple had become the world's most valuable company, with its stock soaring close to $600 billion. In 1998, Jobs unleashed the iMac, a sleek all-in-one computer designed for internet browsing. Its success propelled Apple back into the top ranks of computer manufacturers, with shares skyrocketing by 50%. Then he ventured into digital music with the iPod in 2001, followed by the iTunes Music Store 2 years later, revolutionizing how music was consumed. Despite battling health issues, Jobs unveiled the groundbreaking iPhone in 2007. Time magazine hailed it as the invention of the year, featuring a touchscreen, a powerful camera, and a web browser. The introduction of the App Store in 2008 further enhanced the iPhone's appeal, allowing developers to create a plethora of apps for Apple devices. The phone that you're using right now, the vision for it was brought to this world by none other than the GOAT himself. While competitors tried to emulate Apple's success, it was Google's Android operating system that posed a real challenge. But Jobs' visionary leadership ensured Apple's dominance in the mobile market, paving the way for a future where smartphones would redefine how we connect to the internet. In 2009, the year he had to undergo a liver transplant, Steve Jobs delegated most of his responsibilities to Timothy Cook. But even the visible deterioration of his health would not reduce his dedication to work and his innovative zeal. With his creativity intact, in 2010, he surprised the world with the iPad, a hybrid of tablet and mobile phone, a light and very thin 9.7-inch touchscreen contained in its back. the processing power, and all the features of a laptop without the need for a keyboard or mouse. Steve Jobs presented the second version, the iPad 2, in March 2011 in what would be one of his final public appearances. On October 5th, 2011, at age 56, he passed away at his home in Palo Alto, California, United States. The story of Steve Jobs serves as an inspiration for all of us, and instead of slacking off, we should work to bring something revolutionary into this world. Not to mention that almost everything has been invented, but one can still try, though.